Python built-in functions. Let's briefly discuss some built-in functions in Python. All, eval, input, sorted, super, and many more. You've learned about functions and how to create them. Python also ships with some powerful built-in functions. Let's take a quick look at how they can be of use. Absolute returns a number's absolute value. It discards the idea of positive and negative. So -7 becomes 7, but 7 stays 7. All returns true only if all the values in an iterable have a Boolean value of true. Two empty strings make it false here, but the strings with single spaces are in fact all true. Any will return true even if just one value is true. 1 is true, so true. 0 is false. There's no true value here, so false. ASCII returns a printable representation of an object. This is useful when using a foreign alphabet. Here we use a comma under S in the language Romanian. Bin converts an integer into binary. Integers do convert to binary, but floats do not. Bool turns a value into Boolean. 0.5 is true, an empty string is false, and true is of course true. Byte array gives us an array of given byte size. 4 single bytes. Append the value 1 to them. Change the first value to 1. We can also create it directly from a list. Likewise, bytes returns an immutable bytes object. 5 single bytes, 5 from this list, and a bytes object from this string using the UTF-8 encoding. From this list, call it A. But unlike lists, you cannot reassign items in a bytes object. Callable tells us whether an object is callable. Callable and list are callable. They are functions. Actual lists and booleans are not callable. CHR returns the character for an ASCII value. 65 is capital A, 97 is small a, 9 is a tab, and 48 is the number 0. And class method converts a function to be a class method. Compile compiles the source into a code object that you can execute with exec or eval. This is the code and the mode of compiling. It compiles and prints 12. Complex creates a complex number from another type. 3 becomes 3 plus 0j, 3.5 becomes 3.5 plus 0j, and 3 plus 5j stays what it is. Del attr helps delete an attribute from a class. Size is 7 for class fruit and object orange. Delete size from class fruit and access it from orange, and you have an attribute error. The dict function helps create a dictionary, an empty dictionary. This one uses two tuples to create key value pairs. dir tells us an object's attributes. This is a list of all that we can call on a fruit object. And without an argument, this function tells us the available names in the interpreter. Div-mod divides two numbers and returns a tuple of the quotient and the remainder. 3 by 7 is 0 and 3 mod 7 is 3. 7 by 3 is 2 and 7 mod 3 is 1. Enumerate returns an enumerate object. This yields a count and a value yielded by an iterable. At count 0, A, at count 1, B, and at count 2, C. Eval evaluates a given source, which may be a string. Num is 7. What's num plus 7? 14. What's 7 plus 7 mod 2? 8. Exec executes the given source in the context of globals and locals Eval only evaluates, but exec can execute, even the print statement. 2 plus 3 is 5. It can ask the user to enter what to execute. Filter takes an iterable and yields the items that satisfy a condition. We only want the values which are divisible by 2, so this skips 1. Float converts a value into a float. 2 becomes 2.0. The string 3 works too. But this string doesn't. It has a character in it. False becomes 0.0 and a float remains the same. Format lets us embed values in the middle of strings. This is string interpolation. A and B are 2 and 3. Print A is 2 and B is 3. We can also provide default values to A and B in format. Frozen set returns a frozen set object that is also immutable. And getAttr returns the value of an object's attribute. The size for orange is 7. Globals returns a dictionary of the current global symbol table. These are the names we can currently access and their values. HasAttr checks whether an object has a certain attribute. Orange has a size. It also has a shape, but it does not have a color. Hash returns an object's hash value. In Python, everything is an object, so everything has a hash value. Hash of orange is 62636777. This doesn't change on trying it again. The boolean value true has a hash value of 1. 0 has 0. 3.7 has this. And the hash function itself has this. To find out more about any module, keyword, symbol or topic, call the help function on it. You can also call it without an argument for general help, then seek help for modules related to numbers, or even call it on the function print or any other. Hex converts an integer into the hexadecimal format. 16 is 0x10, false is 0x0. ID returns an object's identity. Orange is this, and these two sets are identical. All good so far, just stay with me a while longer. Input reads and returns a line of string. This one asks the user to enter a number. The user enters 7, so the input is 7 but as a string. We can convert this into an integer by calling the int function on this call to input. Int converts a value into an integer. Int of the string 7 is 7. Is instance tells us whether a variable belongs to a class. 0 is not an object of class string, but orange is an object of class fruit. Is subclass tells us whether a class is a subclass of another. Fruit is a subclass of itself. Iter creates and returns an iterator from an object. This is an iterator on the list 1, 2, 3. Len returns an object's length. This set is 3 items long, not 4, because sets do not hold duplicates anyway. The list function creates a list from a sequence of values. This set creates a list of 3 items. Locals, like globals, returns a dictionary of the current local symbol table. Map applies a function on an iterable and maps true or false values on each item. 2 and 4 are divisible by 2, but false for everything else. Max returns the item with the highest value in a sequence. 4 is the greatest. 5. Hello. ASCII values are compared here. Memory view creates a new memory view object. This references the given object. This is a memory view on A. Min returns the lowest value in a sequence, 1 and false. Next returns the next item from an iterator, 1, 2, 3, then stop iteration. Object creates a featureless object. The object class is the most base type in Python. Obj is an object of the class object. It has the following attributes. And oct converts an integer into its octal representation. Oct of 7 is 007. There's no 8 in octal. True becomes 001. The open function opens the file, get to desktop, open file topics.txt. This is a text IO wrapper, and read it. Complementary to CHR, ORD returns the Unicode code point for a 1-character string. A is 65, 9 is 57. It takes a string of length 1. Pow is equivalent to x to the power y. 3 to the power 4 is 81. 7 to the power minus 2 is this. And with 3 arguments, it raises 3 to the power of 4, then mods it with 7. You know this one very well. Print prints out something to sys.stdout, the standard output stream. Property returns a property object. We'll take this in detail. Range creates a range object producing a sequence of integers to iterate on. 7 to 2, right to left with a step of 2. And REPR returns a representable string from an object. Represent hello, 7, false. Reversed reverses an iterable's contents and returns an iterator object on this. Round rounds off a float to the given number of digits. Set turns the collections of items into a set, and sets do not hold duplicates. Set attr lets us set the value for an object's attribute. Size is 7, but now it's 8. Slice returns a slice object. You can use this to slice a string this way. Sorted prints a sorted version of an iterable without modifying the original. Static method creates a static method from a function. A static method is one that is bound to a class, not to an object. SayHi is a static method for class fruit, and we can also declare so with a decorator. str converts a value into a string. Sum adds all values in an iterable. Super returns a proxy object so you can refer to a parent class and call its versions of methods. Tuple creates a tuple from another type. From dictionaries, it only takes the keys though. And type tells us what type an object is. Var simply returns a class's dict attributes. And zip returns an iterator of tuples by zipping values together, exhausting with the list that exhausts first. To unzip the values, we can use tuple unpacking. We'll cover these concepts throughout the course. Keep learning.